Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Andrew Hopkins from Hopkins Construction. So you'll notice it's a bit of an odd start when I introduce him at the start of the episode because I've never heard him called Andrew until I call him at the start of the episode. So he's much better well known as Hoppo. And I also have to apologise because Hoppo is a mate of mine, so it was a bit of a more casual conversation than what some of the other episodes have been. And because we know each other well, we're talking about things and people who we don't explain, or I don't explain very well in the episode. And I hate hearing that when I'm listening to podcasts where people are talking about people they know, but the listeners don't. And unfortunately, done that a couple of times in this, so I apologise for that. But hopefully, the relaxed nature of the chat comes across well. But Hoppo's got a landscape construction company in Melbourne where he does landscaping as well as carpentry. So he's got a couple of crews there and been doing that for about 5 years. And I think I first met him working on the block, so we discussed that briefly. And there's plenty of business tips in here as well. So we talked about getting people to do jobs that you're not good at. So there's no point doing the finances if you're not good at finances. So it seems pretty self-explanatory, but a lot of self-employed operators try and do everything. So you're better off to delegate for people who are skilled in that area. And the day before we recorded the episode, he did a Instagram poll where he asked other landscapers about whether they charge, or other business owners about whether they charge for quotes, and also clients about their reluctance or otherwise to give a budget when they're first meeting with a tradesperson. So we discussed the findings that he got in there, which was good timing. And we also discussed the landscaper catch-ups that he organised for a group of landscapers in Melbourne, and how beneficial that would be for other landscapers as well who should do it also, or any other, whatever business you're in. It's good to do. So plenty of tips in here, and as well as a few laughs and a few mentions of Ashley James from Ashley James Gardens. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Hoppo. Andrew, thank you. It feels weird calling you Andrew anyway, but
no one's going to know what you're talking about.
Thank you for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
I'm a qualified carpenter by trade, so I left school with a guy, worked with the guy I did my work experience with, and got a job with him. He was awesome, unbelievable, really a builder in the Yarra Valley. Does a lot of architectural stuff, mud brick, recycled products and everything. Did most of my time with him. I was a bit of a smart ass, probably took it for granted and didn't end up finishing my time with him. But, you learn a lot from things like that. And I went and worked with a sort of maintenance company working throughout Victoria with driving machines and, bobcats and trucks and stuff like that. And that led into then after that going back out into framing, picking up the carpentry again. I then sort of got the opportunity to learn how to lay bricks. So then I went and worked with a bricklayer, and then got the opportunity with one of the guys left there to do landscaping. So I worked with a company called Paving Landscape Solutions for a couple of years. The guy I learned under, he had an axe, he taught me everything. He was super hard ass on it, rode you all day, and I loved it. It was more like, I'll carry one brick, you carry two. All right, I'm going to carry three, I'm going to carry four until it's cooked. But it was grouse. And he had a bad accident, unfortunately. Then I sort of got thrown to the deep end and said, all right, well, you're the only one. I'm not going to get anyone else for a while. We're sort of happy with how you're going. So I worked by myself with him for quite some time. Then thought, I'm going to go on my own and do. My brother-in-law just quit his job at the time. He was a carpenter. So we thought, well, we've both got carpentry. I've got the landscaping. Let's start a business. That was called Fine Edge Carpentry and Landscaping, and that was 4 years of doing everything you possibly can wrong. We thought we were winning at the start, and then cash, we're buying motorbikes, kind of the pub. This is easy. And then you get your first tax bill. I have no money. Once on my motorbike. And it was 4 years it was disastrous. But we went our separate ways, and I started at Hopkins. And it's not that I knew what to do, it was more of I knew what to avoid and what I shouldn't do. It was a good, expensive learning curve, but honestly, I wouldn't change a thing. So,
you still talk to your brother-in-law?
No, it all went a bit south in the end, unfortunately. He's an unbelievable carpenter, really, really good. Learned so much, but not so much businessman.
Yeah, it's interesting saying what you said about the first fella, or not the first fella, but the guy who got injured, and you were trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
I tried to do that with my first boss as well. Like, so when I was 20 or 21, but he was a big Scottish fella who used to compete in the strongman competitions at the moment. So he beat me a fair bit, but
so. Oh, you had a crack. That's all that matters.
although unsafe lifting practices and all that sort of smart stuff you do when you're younger.
These days. And then I started Hopkins, and it's been almost 5 years now. But it's been grouse. We sort of went from just working by myself. I had an opportunity of one of my mates' parents just built a house and I went on my own, and they thought, we want you to do it. You can do it. So it was sort of pretty much me by myself for about 4 months. Did full landscape. I had blokes like Lockie Ryan, who's now at LDR Pools, my mate Stowe from Stowe Landscapes, Robbie from RC Landscape. We were all back then just by ourselves. We could jump in and help each other. And now sort of everyone's grown into these successful businesses, good businesses. And it's awesome. Yeah, we've gone from me to 10 guys back to 6 now. And it's just a really nice number. Pretty happy with how things are going.
And how's the business side of things going? Do you still take care of all that yourself, or have you got someone helping out running that?
I do the quoting and the invoicing and stuff like that, but I've got a bookkeeper that does the pays and the BAS, and then my partner Casey does all the rest. I don't have anything to do with the banking. I get home, if we're going good, she gives me the thumbs up. If we're going bad, she gives me the thumbs down, and put my boots back on and go back to work. So very basic, but that's how I like it. I can focus on what I'm good at and not try and do too much.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good statement, that last one, not trying to do too much, because a lot of people try and do everything when they start their own business. And some people, like I'm good at maths, so that side of thing is not a problem for me. But other people, if you're no good at it, you get someone else to help you do it.
Exactly right, which is what we've learned a bit in the first business, Fine Edge. We tried to do it all ourselves, and it was delegated people and.
Yeah, something I did early days, not early days, but should have, but people always told me to have a separate bank account to put money aside in for your BAS and your pay as you go.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it at the time. And then every 3 months, you think, I'm going all right, there's a fair bit of money in the account. You realise that sort of coincides with the end of the quarter when you've got to pay all the BAS. And
it smashes you, doesn't it? It's everyone, especially at the start, you just have absolutely no idea how much you actually have to put aside. It's criminal. Yeah, it's a bit of a deflator, isn't it?
Yeah. And you work on some pretty nice projects now. So did they happen early on? Like, was that the family one? Was that a good one? Or?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, I didn't probably realize at the time how lucky I was and how nice that job was until a couple of years later when I was, you're literally doing anything you can. I was like whippersnippering people's places. I was paving under their bloody clotheslines. I was doing everything. And I was like, I really took that one for granted, how nice that was. And I still have an awesome relationship with them. And I've gone back and done some bits and pieces there recently. And yeah, there was definitely some shockers along the way. But until I probably when I first met you, like at the block a couple of years ago, and met Lily from Sabo Design when we started doing some of her work, and that we were just doing anything and everything really.
Yeah, so that second year at the block in Brighton, I think it was.
Yeah, 2020.
That was when, that was around COVID time. And I'll never forget shaking your hand at that block, because that was the first time I'd shaken someone's hand in months, because you weren't supposed to do it because of COVID.
Yes, of course, that's right.
Never felt better shaking someone's hand.
Oh, mate, that was weird, wasn't it? It was like COVID, there's all these things in play, but everyone's on top of each other, bumping into each other. It was, yes. That was my revenge one, wasn't it? After you guys picked us. I shouldn't mention Ash's name. He keeps telling me he's going to start drawing money from you every time his name gets dropped on the potty. So you guys picked us in the first block. Yeah.
And then I think it was obvious why, because we won the first week and then the first year, and then when Ash wasn't there, you guys won. So
well,
it's no coincidence.
It's very obvious. Yes.
So how did that come about, the first year of the block? So that was just through Ash getting you to come on board?
Yeah, so Ash and I just linked up through Instagram, as he does. He's the whiz. He knows every single person on Instagram. And then he messaged me. First, he gave me a referral for Inga actually to go give her a chop out on the garden show. And I wasn't really big on socials and didn't even like, embarrassed to say it, in the industry. I didn't really know much about the garden show and everything. He was harping on about it. I thought, oh, yeah, we'll go do it. And we did well there. And then he said, called me up. He's like, I need to know, like, tonight, it's next week, do you want to do the block with me? I'm like, oh, righto, like, sweet. And he goes, oh, I'll do a design. So we go in there, do a design, and then little do we know that you do a design to what you think is going to win, and then they go, well, we've only got like $7. We're going to do it next week. You can't do this. You have to work. It's a public holiday. And it was, we became good mates after that, after doing our first like 16-hour shift, and then walking down the backpackers at 3 a.m., sleeping in the same clothes we were in, waking up 3 hours later, staying at 5:30 in the morning, then working till 2:30 in the morning the next day. Yeah, that sealed our friendship there, I think. So,
and then you enjoyed that enough that you wanted to do it again the next year.
Yeah, something like that. It was. I didn't quite have as much fun the next time. It took a bit more out of us. Like it was nice doing that courtyard because it was just a couple of days. But at Brighton, pretty much when we did that palm tree as well. So 2.5 weeks of really knocked around myself and a couple of the first years as well. I don't think I ever recovered from it. So.
What were your guys like? Did they enjoy doing it, or they sort of over it by the end of it as well?
Oh, they like the free coffees and the cameras. They like the idea of it. And after the first week, they were very, very much over it. So to get them back the second week was a little bit hard. I think they look back at it now and they probably enjoyed it. But we probably didn't have as good of like a relationship with our second contestants as we did with Deb and Andy. We still talk to Deb and Andy now. They're awesome. So that probably made it a little bit harder for them to come back, but it's a pretty harsh environment.
Yeah. You said before that you've had 10 staff and now you're down to 6. So have you been working on site the whole time, or do you in the office?
No, in the office. I love being on site. That's what I want to do. And then I thought, it'd be good to, everyone's like, it'd be good to, get off the tools, start to get a bit older, you want to rest your body, this and that. And I just hated it. I hated being off site. I love having lunch with the boys and just hearing the stuff. And I was suddenly sitting on the side of the road between meetings, quickly eating lunch. And you just, what am I doing this for? So it's taken me years to get back to the point of being on the tools again. But yeah, it was for the first couple of years. And then there was probably 3 years, like especially when I had Murph's just recently left. But when I had him, I could sort of leave him on site and sort of run things a bit more. But now I've been back on site for about 3 weeks, full time. I love it. Absolutely love it. But I feel like an apprentice again. I get home at 4, 5 o'clock, hit the couch. I'm asleep for an hour, wake up and the kids smack me in the face. It's great. Get woken up for dinner and it's awesome.
So is that your plans to keep doing that like that, or are you going to try and have 1 or 2 days off, or how are you doing the quoting and that sort of stuff?
Well, now we're booked for the year, so it's kind of like I know the work's going to come next year. Like I'm not so concerned about it. So I will dart out here and there when the boys have got some, not so interesting jobs to do, or I'll sneak out and go to some quotes because we're sort of bound up, and I'm trying to we punch through the jobs pretty quickly, boys. There's no downtime. We really churn through them. So I'm actually trying to slow it back a little bit and just making sure. It's 100%. Yeah, so we won't churn through as much, but I know we're set for the year, so I really don't need to be dancing around doing anything at the moment. Yeah, it's very lonely at the top, I found. So I really want to, I know everyone's like, you got to put a wedge between you and the boys and be a real boss, but I just don't enjoy that.
I don't think you have to. I think it depends on who your staff are and who you are. There's no point in trying to be someone who you're not.
Yeah.
So there's some people who are like that, but if you're naturally one of the boys, then that's who you should continue to be. Yeah,
and I probably put myself in a position where I wasn't, and I wasn't enjoying it. And you're working long hours, you're dealing with a lot of shit, and you're like, if I don't enjoy it, then what's the point of even doing it? So we've been trying to make a few changes in the last 6 to 12 months. It's obviously when you got a few more guys, it takes a long time to change. A couple of guys left. We got rid of a couple of guys, which is always horrible. I don't care how many times you're doing it. It's horrible. You create such a you try and create such a good environment at work, and then you got to tell someone like, you're not coming in here anymore, mate. Like it sucks. So I've had to make some hard calls, but I think where we are now is awesome. Awesome. We've got our 3 on our landscaping crew, our 3 on our carpentry crew, and I get to sort of bounce back and forth between them. And yeah, when we can, we bring them all together, and that's the best.
Yep.
But you see guys like Lloyd Sharp, who you had on the show, and he's a pisser. He's so funny, and we've been talking a little bit since. But you see what I mean? I know Instagram, is what it is, but they just look like they have the best time on site every day, and I'm just like, that's what I want. Like I love that. So
yeah.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Like he's not sort of saying, I'm the boss, I'm not going to have fun with you.
Yeah,
he gets right in there and has a crack with them.
Exactly right. That's the dream. That's what I want. So,
and if you've got someone like, if you act like that, and then one of your employees is kind of taking advantage of it and slacking off or something, then it's the employee who needs to change, not you.
Yeah, totally.
Do you do any designs or anything like that, or are you just purely construction?
No, I used to do some myself. I just hand sketching and stuff like that. I soon realised they're pretty shit. So we worked with Lily for a few years there from Sabo, and now we work with Ash. I don't want to say his name. Ash from Ashley James a fair bit now. So he's really stepped into that design. He's an unreal eye, especially like where we are in the valley. He likes those cottage gardens and this and that, and they're really fun to build. So we do advertise when we do it, but it's more so spinning back to bringing him to life with them. So that's been fun.
Yep. So you're not doing any more of your own, or you're still going to keep?
Eventually, I wouldn't mind, but for now,
yeah,
I think I'll just stick to. I was getting a little bit rusty on the tools after being off them for a couple of years, so I think I want to find my way back in with that and get him involved. I think he's looking to sort of fully get into it, so try and support him where we can, and we work well together. There's some ups and downs, so yeah, it's good.
And you mentioned before that because you booked out this year, you're not doing any quotes. But I saw last night on your Instagram, you put a question on there asking people if they're charging for quotes. Yeah. Do you charge for quotes? And also, what sort of feedback did you get from that question?
I've never heard back from so many people in my life than I did last night. So there was, I don't charge. I want to, I will. I feel like, and the point I got off a lot of people is like, that time is your family time, and your family time's worth everything. And if you can't get paid for your time during work hours, like how are you going to run a business? It was very touchy. It was, there's a few people that were quite, I heard from a lot of people that said they wouldn't pay for quotes. But I also spoke to a couple of designers that said, they might have their 2 or 3 landscapers that they give their work out to. And they get back and the quote's a little bit underdone or not as much detail. And I just feel like that's the point of difference. If they're getting paid for their time, it's not going to ever be rushed. It's never going to be like, I'll do all of my profitable work so I can put a roof over my head. And then at midnight, when I'm half asleep, I'm going to try and do someone's quote. It's going to be like, no, it's part of my day. It's a job.
Yep.
And say, all right, well, we win the job, we might take 50% of that off. Or someone said they charge $250 for a quote, but if it goes ahead with it, they get a 5% discount off the job. Like, obviously that can add up quite substantially on some jobs. So, but people, there was some good responses there.
Yeah, I've said it a few times, but if you're thinking of charging for a quote, there's no better time than now to do it, because what stops a lot of people doing it is they're too scared not to that people aren't going to pay it, so then they won't get that job.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how many people are prepared to pay for your time. And the people who are going to pay for your time are the ones you want to work for, because they appreciate that your time is valuable. Yeah,
exactly right. And I feel like when some people don't do any, they might want to have a $150,000 budget and have all these ideas, but then you do all the research for them, you bounce back and they go, no, I want to completely swap that around. And you go, if you don't want to spend a couple $100 at the start, which you're potentially going to get back anyway, like how serious are you about the job and how hard is it going to be to get paid off you?
Yeah.
Which comes to the next point. The other poll I did was about the budget, because I still find it a little bit awkward saying to people, like, because you automatically think that they're thinking you're going to take them for a ride.
So that was that. Did you ask customers are they happy to give out their budget to a landscaper?
Yeah. Do they feel hesitant about, telling tradesmen what their budget is? And I think it was about 75% of them said, yes, we do. We are hesitant, which I actually thought was going to be a higher percentage than that. But yeah, I still feel funny about it. I'm not going to take it for a ride, but I need to know if in your head, not everyone knows how much stuff's worth. So in your head, you only wanted to spend 20 grand and you think it's going to get your whole front yard. But what you're telling me here is I want 3 unicorns, I want this, and it's 80 grand. Like, I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you to get this shock and go like, no, see you later. But I want us to be on the same page, and I can tell you, all right, I think you get this much for it. Give me some big ticket items that may want. But also I think this comes back to most people should really have a concept plan, and they deal with all that sort of stuff first as well.
Yeah.
Because do you do some of your designs, don't you?
Yeah, starting to do more and more, and also starting to charge for quotes as well.
Yes.
But it's not every quote. Like if I get one from, say, we do a few for Bethany Williamson, if she sends us a project, I'm not going to charge them to quote because I know it's a good lead.
Yes.
Just like they've paid her for a design, so they're obviously looking to get a great project. So, but it's more the ones that you don't know anything about. But I found it fascinating talking to Dean Herold from Rolling Stone last week that he doesn't charge for quotes because he does a lot of pre-qualifying beforehand. Yeah. So he's been in business long enough. He knows whether they're a good client or not. He's got a fair idea. You never know everything about him, but he knows enough to know whether they're going to be worth him heading out there. So I know Ross Ubergang, he speaks to the clients a lot before he'll go out on site as well. Yeah. Sort of working out whether they're the right client for him. So you can do that if you don't want to charge. You can just have like a list of questions that you're going to go through. And when someone brings up wanting a quote, you go through all these, and then you decide if they're no good for you. And then say, "I'm sorry, we're not the right client, not the right landscaper for you." Yeah. Maybe you could give some recommendations, but and I find the budget thing extremely difficult. Like I don't like giving it to someone if I'm getting some work done. Yeah. So I completely understand clients like that. Yeah. And I had a job. I went out there and was doing a design and asked them, like, first of all, went through everything they wanted and then asked if they got a budget they want to stick to. And they said, like, 50 grand. Yeah. And I laughed out loud thinking they were joking. And it turns out they weren't joking. That was so I felt horrendous afterwards. I felt so bad. But and then I did the design, did the quote, and the quote was like 110. Yeah. I said, I've included everything you want so we can start paring it back. And they said, oh, no, that's fine. If that's what it is. Yeah, it is. So some people are going to be like that, and then others just think you're taking the piss by doubling their budget. So I find it extremely difficult, that subject. Yeah, that's why I put as much detail as I can, like break it down. Often like how we construct something sometimes, so they can be like, all right, like because we've just done some floating stairs in the front yard of one of our jobs, and pretty expensive to do. Like just the time that goes into them and. The client, awesome clients, and it was a fair whack for their front yard, but they understood what they wanted, and he watches a lot of YouTube. And just by coincidence, the night I sent him the quote, he was watching a show on YouTube about landscaping, and it went through the whole process about how the stairs were built. So he saw the price and he saw my breakdown, and he calls me up and goes, I would have normally fallen over, if but now I've seen the breakdown, the process, what goes into it. He's like, that's cool. Like, I wish you send me that link so I can send it to all my clients before we send that in. So that's a good idea. Send through a quote with that link on everyone. Exactly. So, because I find like even I have no idea how much some things are going to cost. So, what chance is a client who doesn't deal with landscaping all the time going to know anything? Yeah, totally. Especially at the moment, like because different things are going up at different percentages. Like, what are some of my quotes? I break them all down, stick by stick. And you add it up then and you're like, nah, like, it can't be right. And you go over it and you're like, I've actually missed something. Like it's insane. But the good thing about our carpentry side is it's all been all over the news more so than anything. It's timber prices. Everyone knows about it. So we get a quote. Like we obviously don't break those ones down tremendously, but people are pretty aware of what things are going to cost. So how do you go with that? Do you do quotes like, so you said you booked out for the rest of the year. Have you quoted those projects at the end of the year for a fixed price, or do you adjust it closer?
I've got some of each. Some of them I put in there and said, this is the price as is. Obviously, you wanted to lock us in to get your position, but we can't lock in the prices. We'll reassess. I'll go back over the job 2 weeks before we start, and I'll look at the prices again, and I'll send it to you and show you with proof that the prices have gone up in that time, just so I'm not taking the mickey. And they're all cool. They've all been really good. So far, we'll see when we get to them. But everyone's been really understanding. I'm just trying to be as upfront as possible at the start, and everyone's been cool.
Yep.
I realise that's not the case with everyone, unfortunately, lately, but.
Yeah, I can guarantee those people who aren't cool about it are the ones who wouldn't be paying for a quote either.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not
100%. How did you find it straight up, like charging for the quotes? You had like sort of feedback from clients. How was it?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm just trying to think if I've had someone who said no to it. I don't think there is. No, because so with my designs, I had a client, so I went out to the job. I spent like an hour and a half out there measuring everything up, getting heights and everything. Yeah. And then I started drawing up the design, and I had a question about where they had a septic tank. I just want to know where that was discharging. So I sent an email, a phone call, and a text asking the same question. And then turns out she was just ghosting me. So I'd done this work. I started doing it. And then, just for some reason, didn't like the cut of my jib or something. So they weren't going to get back to me. So since then, I'll charge 50% of the design before I start it. Yeah. And then 50% before I send it. And if they don't want to pay that, then go and find someone else. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not going to do work and not get paid for it. Yeah. So I've had one person who I've been out there, because I'll still go out on site beforehand. So that would have still been the same anyway. But I've had one person, I've sent him the deposit and he didn't pay. So, yeah, at least it didn't start the design.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to be like, stick to that too, don't you? Like, unless you really, I guess if you're really needing the work, you're not going to be charging for quotes. Yeah. But if that's the case and you're happy to like stand your ground and be like, oh, well, you can pay it. Like, I'm not sorry. Like, you don't start making exceptions and then obviously be back to square one again. And
yeah. There's no rule that if you start charging for quotes, you have to charge everyone for a quote, and it has to be a stupid amount. Like if you talk to someone and they sound like this is going to be an amazing project, then you don't need to charge for it. But if you're talking to someone else, they say, I found you from, I was looking on Google and I found you. And like, if there's nothing that's sort of getting you excited about the project straight up, then that's the one you kind of want to start charging with. Because if you lose them, they're usually not that great a job anyway, 90% of the time. So yeah.
Most of your work come from designers?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So I can't remember who said it. Might have been, I don't know if it was on the podcast the other days, or was just someone I was chatting to at a Landscape Victoria event or something, but they don't do any project. They won't do a quote if there hasn't been a design done. Yeah. Because you can just get it's just so grey, such a grey area that you need to know exactly what you're charging for. And I know. I think Joel Keane might have said it from Aqua Dreams as well. There's no point quoting for a pool because you're not necessarily quoting the same project. Yeah, it's not apples to apples. Yeah. So either I'm doing the design or someone else has done the design. And there's none I can think of. Oh, there's one like a deck and a pergola. There's not, you don't need to do much of a design for that, but most of them, when they're the full landscape, will do a design, and it's so much better. And the designers we work with do amazing designs, so it's a lot of detail in it as well. So it's easy to quote it. You're not, and that's also the benefit of working for the same designers. You know how they do things, and you can, because when you get a design for the first time off someone, it's a bit like reading, upside down. You don't know what everything is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so that'd be the same with you with Lily's designs. Like hers are really good as well. So easy to quote off. Got a lot of detail. They've got heights on them, which is important. You can that's what I found with Lily. Call her day or night. She's always answered. She'll be out on site. She was really good to work with. So the good thing is too, is you leave site or you need to go out or whatever, you want to go away or anything, you've got the plan there. The boys aren't reading off the back of a napkin that I've, can't say this because I've probably done it many a times, but then everyone's on the same page. You can't argue with it. That's how it is. That's there. So I feel
I've been saying to the boys we're going to do a lot more designs, and I mean, I not necessarily have been doing that, but even with Ash, I'm just going to do some basic stuff for my work now. So
yeah,
everyone's on the same page.
Yeah. And I think it was Simon from Land Art Landscapes on the Landscape Victoria podcast just a couple of weeks ago. But he said he's got a drafty in his office, and sometimes if he gets like a concept design from a designer, he'll get his drafty to draw it up so that it's easier for it to translate into construction drawings.
Yeah.
So the designer's done the design, it looks amazing, but the client might not want to pay for the details, so he gets it done up in-house so that everything goes smoothly, like for quoting as well as installation.
Yeah. We've been doing a fair bit of their carpentry work for them lately. Their plans are so great to work off. Their whole crew's grouse. They're wicked. I can't have anything. They do beautiful work. Or they just won Pool of the Year for their pool mob. But yeah, their plans are great to work off. They're awesome. So
yeah, I had no idea they were as big as they are. So.
Yeah, because they've got a building company, they've got a steel company, they've got the landscape company, and then they've got striking pools. That's the one. Yeah, no, they're awesome. Real good dudes. So the boys are loving working with them at the moment.
Yeah. You got any plans for Hopkins pools down the track?
I don't think so. I thought about it, wanted to do it, but there's just some really good mobs out there that are just so good to deal with. A couple of my good mates Lockie from LDR, he's in with Rochi, who used to be part of Laguna, and they're just they're smashing them out, they're killing it. So we're doing quite a lot of work with them. It just seems like I'd like the idea of it, and I feel like the boys, if you're going to do something different, but they've just got it so down pat, then just comes back when I was saying work, stick to what I'm good at. So yeah.
So when you're on site, are you with the carpentry crew or the landscaping crew, or do you chop and change?
Predominantly
how hard the work is that needs to get done.
Yeah, predominantly because Murph was sort of, partially in charge of the chippies before, but now we got Lukey, who was always there. He's unreal. So they sort of look after themselves, to be honest. So I've been out with the landscapers a fair bit, and my main landscaper, Bruno, just had a baby yesterday. Congrats to them. So he's off for a few weeks now. So I'm out with them full time. So I'll just pop in, see the other boys dropping a coffee, and they're just all over it. I'm more or so probably just get in the way when I'm there. So
yeah.
So
have you got any plans to grow the company in the future?
No. Not at all. Not at all. I've been bigger, and I just feel I don't know, where the boys are at and how long they'll be around for, but definitely not any bigger than it is now. So I'm very content with how things are. It's manageable. I can sneak off and leave on a Friday and come back on a Monday with take my partner, my boys away, and it's just the boys are all over it. So I'm very, very comfortable where it is right now.
Yep, it's very common for a company who've been larger and gone back smaller, saying that's a lot more profitable and enjoyable being smaller.
Yeah. I used to joke with the boys about it. You always get that old bloke at the pub sitting there in the corner with his apprentice, and he goes, "Oh, how many guys you got?" And you go, "I've got 10 guys." Yeah, the bigger the better. And he's like, "You're an idiot. I used to have 20 guys, and now work me and him, and I've never made more money, and I'm happy." And I'm like, "You're a drunk, mate," And now I'm like, so jealous of that guy. He knows what's up. He's been around the block, and he's stoked. So that's where I want to be one day. That guy.
Yeah, it's so hard, especially now because there's so much work flying around, and most people aren't accustomed to saying no to work. So the only other option is to put on more guys to take it all on. But yeah, you find out pretty quick that that's not the way to go. You'll get more work, but you don't make any more money necessarily.
Yeah, I felt that was a real turning point in our business where I learned to say no, and I was like, that felt great. You really pick and choose, or big believer in karma. I'm like, it's going to be. If I look like a job cancels, I used to say to my missus, actually, we don't have that much work. Oh, maybe I should look for more. And then the phone always rang that night or the next day. It was and she goes, everything's always going to be all right. So don't say no to, I say to Murph when he went his own, if something feels wrong, it is wrong. Don't do it. I'd rather stay at home and not get paid than go to work and be doing huge days for someone else and not getting paid. So
yeah. Or pay for someone's pergola to get built.
Exactly. So
So you still keeping in touch with Murph? So he worked with you for a little while and was running the construction crew.
Yeah, we still keep in touch. We've got a job coming up with him in a couple of weeks, but it was good. He did an old apprenticeship in carpentry and then came with us, I think, the year after he was done. He was there for 3 years and we just hit it off really, really well. Both competitive people, so it was always like just enough tension and just enough, you wanted to, have, do this better or do that better, or, he was good, really good. And he sort of helped take the business where it is today. And the boys all loved him, worked really hard. But yeah, it's good. Like the business hasn't slowed down since he's left, but it was just a really good transition and he's going to do really good things. He's like, really, really good mate and got a lot of time for Murph. So he'll do well.
When I had Sean Laurie on, he told me about how he's there was catch up between a bunch of landscapers, and I asked him who was there, and he was mentioning some of the guys, and he didn't mention you, and then I found out that you're the one who organised the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But what was the catalyst behind organising all those local landscapers to catch up?
Well, it was originally I was just talking scat with Dan Foreman, who loves a chat. He actually worked with me today, gave us a chop out. So he just mentioning him and Ash and just not bouncing negativity off each other, but bouncing like, I'm having these issues. Is anyone else having these issues, or am I just horrible businessman, or am I just blind to all this? And then finding out, no, everyone has these issues, and which also was a great thing about your podcast is, you get us bottom feeders down here, and you got these, these people have been in the industry forever, and I'm like, I can't. This is still my head in. Is this ever going to change? And these guys have been in the industry for 50 years, and they're talking about the same shit. I'm like, all right, well, that's really, I think it's reassuring. I don't
know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I sort of messaged Ash and Dan and said, like, let's do lunch. Like, let's just lock it in because, it's like this. I know you've been asking me if I want to do this. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. And all of a sudden, like 12 months, 18 months goes past. And I said, all right, next Thursday, let's do it. And I think maybe Ash messaged someone, brought a couple of people, said, oh, yeah, no, they're going to come. And that was good. And then I missed the next week. And he goes, oh, these people are going to come instead. And Sean, I've spoken to Sean a few times and never met him. He's wild. The work he does is so sick. And then when I found out he's 25 or something?
Yeah, it's not ridiculous.
You are like, what am I doing? Like, how is that even possible? So he's a gun. His work I love it. I've got all the time in the world for him. But yeah, we just had this catch up and we just all bounced and, just bounce shit off each other and everyone's on the same page and realizing like, it's so good to vent, like so good to get these issues out where you're bottling up and you're too worried to tell anyone else because they think, well, he's failing at this or he's failing at that. And it was awesome. I got a lot out of it. And I know you popped in the other week. It was just a short one, but it was good to see you there. And that's something we want to keep doing. We haven't done it since we saw you. But
good. I thought you might have just.
No, we were out of the group. So that's it. We didn't want to add with the group, so we actually made another group. Called Out Style Landscape. So, no, that's awesome. And have a quick feed and a couple of beers, and even if you're there for 5 minutes or you're there for 3 hours, I feel like everyone's got a lot out of it. So it'd be nice to be able to do something, a yearly thing like a golf thing, or go fishing or anything, but just lock a date in because no one will do it otherwise. So
yeah, because I was in just coincidentally in Melbourne, and Ash said you guys were catching up that day, so I thought I might as well do that. Sounds like fun, and I absolutely loved it. Like I met a bunch of guys who I'd never spoken to before.
Yeah.
It was such a great feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like like I can't recommend highly enough other landscapers if you're thinking of doing it. Just get the ball rolling and just start with 2 landscapers and then gradually add more to it. But it's one of those things where you think you haven't got time for it, but you just got to make time. Yeah. And then after it, you think, oh, that was awesome. I loved it. I did that.
It's like a therapy session. It was so good. So yeah, if you're thinking about it, 100% couldn't recommend it enough. Like we got blokes from all over Melbourne. Pop in, Warren Up Pub. I'll put it up. I'll even put it on my story or something next time. Be like, come down, catch up, meet Dan. Dan will go around, shake everyone's hand, give him a hug, and he's a pisser. He just he's the most supportive guy in the industry, I reckon. Any story you put up or anything, like every time he speaks to him, mate, how you going, a legend? Like, if you feel shit, get down, someone call him. He'll make you feel like the most special person in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some awesome people in the industry. It's just ridiculous. There's no competitiveness or anything that I'm aware of anyway.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
With your talking of your social media, you've got quite a big following on there. So do you enjoy doing all the stuff on Instagram?
Not really anymore.
Oh.
I did. I loved it. I'll be honest. I loved it. I was doing it like when I first started. I didn't have it. My missus was like, "You've got to get on Instagram." It's and I was like, "Ah." Like at the time, I was literally getting on my skateboard and driving around and putting cards in people's letterboxes. And my apprentices were doing the same. They're on their scooters out. If we didn't have any work, and she goes, "No, it's not where it's at these days. Like, get with it, grow up." Like, I started putting heaps of stuff up and getting really good feedback from it, and then trying to think like, what's the best time to put it on, and and just got heaps of work. Met a lot of people. I met blokes like Ash out of it, and now it's hard. Like, it's become a bit of a job. You get home, and the right time to put it up is right when your kids are going mental at home. When people that don't have kids are sitting on their couch or whatever, and it's been a bit testing. And I feel like you got to be creative. I do enjoy it. I like getting to speak to people and meet people, and I put stuff up, and you get positive feedback, or someone goes like, the nice people don't write it on the picture. They'll message you and go like,
yeah,
that's a bit shit. I'll show you this. We've done this way instead. Like, so I've learned a lot from that. I've learned a lot from it, but it did go from fun to a bit of a job for a bit there. But it is good.
Yeah, it depends how serious you take it as well, because like there are times where it's better to post because more people are on there. But the way I look at it, I couldn't care less if a post gets 20 likes or 2 views. Because I actually enjoy doing it, so you can't lose that way.
Yeah,
and I love trolls as well. Like, I love when people are tearing my work down. I find it hilarious.
I used to tee off at him. And my missus was like, "You can't do that. Like, you realise that everyone can see. I think you're a nutter." So then I just started writing back like really polite insults. And now as soon as I get them, I just block the person instantly because it sends me nuts. But the approach I've sort of got on Instagram which I think has worked, is mine's not so formal. Mine's, I want to be more personable. And when I go out inside, like, the boys know Harry, they know Johnsy. You go out there and they know, Dan doesn't drink coffee. He just likes drinking Sunkist at 6 a.m. Like, weird stuff like that. And you go out there and they feel comfortable you being around their family and stuff like that. So I feel like that approach, they felt like, oh, you're a D supporter. Or, oh, my kid's doing Auskick. And I think from that angle, it really, really worked well for me, being a little less professional and formal with it. So, which is why I like paying out on Ash, because his is a lot more formal than mine, so I can put shit up about him and he can't reshare it. So
yeah, and you would have played a massive role in Murph getting his business his Instagram as popular as it was as well.
Yeah, it was it kind of worked both ways. No doubt, you're right there, but it also, he was coming from a different angle of like, this is what, say if I wasn't out there as much, this is what it's like from the inside of Hopkins Construction, working, with our carpenters, and, big handsome Murph with his nice smile and his muscles and all that. It worked well. But yeah, like, we tagged a bit of stuff and he got that, which is funny. Like, you essentially training up and like elevating someone that's essentially going to go and be a competitor. But it's, it's nice. I'm happy for him, but it was a weird transition that way, because, his clients are on, my clients are on there and everything and stuff. But, that's just how the industry works.
Yeah. And again, speaking of what I spoke about last week with Dean Herald, like, I've not many of my guys have gone off and started their own business, but I'm happy for them if they do.
Yes.
Life is too short to just be to hold all your employees working for you and angry at them if they go somewhere else.
Exactly. I like that with my guys as well. I tried out, especially with Murph, I brought him in and taught him how I do the quoting and stuff like that. I try to get the guys involved in the business side of things as well, which can be bad, but it's also like they understand, like, not necessarily figures, but, if I stuff this up, there's the repercussions of boom, 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 and not making them feel bad for it, but then teaching them as well, because they're going to do their own caches and stuff. And it's not just if this breaks, it's the time of getting that and replacing this. And, so I do try and teach them as much of that as possible.
Yeah.
Which evidently they're going to go on their own. And
yeah. You can't, if someone wants to leave, they're going to leave. So you might as well leave on good terms and support each other.
Totally.
So you mentioned you got like having lunch with the guys. So do you do much outside of work, like to keep them happy, or?
Not as much as I'd like. We had a fishing trip planned that I was profitable for ages talking about, and then the charter place cancelled. We had a big tuna one, so I'm gutted. So I'm waiting for that again. Played a couple of games like golf with Murph and stuff like that. But we did a dinner a while ago. We're trying to plan a few things like going to the footy and stuff like that, which just with me having kids and them having girlfriends and stuff, and you never know how to read them. Like, do they even want to hang out with me after work? Yeah. And I know it rolls onto the culture, and sometimes it's good because the quiet kid has a couple of beers and then starts spilling a bit of goss, and all of a sudden he's like that, and then Monday you're into him, and but not as much as I'd like. But yeah, I would like to.
Yeah, it's a bit easy to get caught up in the sort of whirlwind of the way work is at the moment. But you really need to focus on those kind of things if you want to do them.
Hugely, yeah. We used to have a really, really good culture. Ping pong table, the beers, the boys would come back almost every night, and it was like tournaments going, and it was the best. It was so much fun, and it was almost like too much of the other way. And then a couple of those guys left, and I think I constantly compare it to that, and I'm like, but that wasn't really a very profitable business. We had a lot of fun. It was awesome, and the guys are grouse, and I still talk to all of them. But it's not really how it should have been running when I've got to pay for family. But then I do compare stuff to that, and you're always back, okay, is he enjoying himself? Is it work? Is he just having a bad day? And I spoke to the guys, Robbie and Dean from Evo Built a while ago. We're good mates with them, and they were saying, you've gone from working with the boys to you teach them how to brush their teeth properly, do this properly. They've got to, bedtimes and dietary and everything. And you're like, what is this?
You mentioned before when you were talking about charging for quotes that when you're doing that, you're taking time away from your family. So that's a good reason to part. And you've got a pretty young family. And you just had your second child not too long ago, it seems like. So how did things change for you in terms of how many hours you were doing then compared to now? Have you changed it at all?
I started going to work really early because I felt like at any part of my day, I'm going to procrastinate because I'm like, my brain's going a million miles an hour. I'm a bit skittish. I'll get to a point where I'm just like, I need to stun mullet for a bit. So I was getting to work at 5:45 every day at the factory. I had this whole thing of I don't have too many rules at work, but be on time. If you're not early, you're late. So if I was in the first one in the office every day and the last one there, no one would ever question it. So I was getting to work first thing every day and trying to get my procrastination and all my book work done so I could get home at a reasonable time still. And I recently changed that, and I'm getting so much more done being an hour later than I was before. But that was my thing. I was like, well, if I get there early, then it's fine. The kids are asleep, or I can get home at a normal time. But I struggled with then getting home at sort of 4:30, but still answering phone calls to 5:30. I just wasn't present with the kids. So I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I've got to be to Case, my partner, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be in and out till 5, or all right, I'm at 4:30 and I turn my phone, not turn it off, but I don't answer. It's, sorry, thank you for calling. That's what I felt changed, because I was like, yeah, I'm home. Look, everyone, I'm home. I'm early, but then the kids are talking to me, and I'm emailing and this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm not home. I'm a million miles away. This is shit for everyone. So now I'm, either a normal time, and I try and get home by 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and then I'm like, that's it. I'll message the boys at work, but apart from that, I'm dad.
Yep.
Because there's nothing worse than you don't really notice it, but you look down and you're on your phone and your kid's tugging at you, looking at you like, Dad, there's nothing worse than that feeling. So
yeah, I went through that as well at some stage. I remember when I fed my daughter, my first child who was a daughter. I used to get so angry at people wasting my time, like just the smallest things. So I was thinking, you're making me wait, 10 minutes extra for a meeting we're supposed to meet at on time.
Yeah.
I could be at home with my daughter now. And so I had to get past that, because you can't.
It's hard, isn't it?
You can't think like that, because you just, send yourself crazy. But
It's not this person's fault. Yeah, it's not the deal in their head like you're brewing. It's the whole storming a teacup thing. Like, yeah.
It does make you value other people's time, though, when you think of it like that. Like, like I'm real punctual as well. Like, I hate it's happened more now than it ever used to, but I would never be late to a meeting at all. I'd be 15 minutes early and just creep out the front of the house.
Yes, I'm like that. But it's then you realise, because I was get so worked up about that, and almost like it was almost like an issue in my head. Like, I was get anxious and angry about it. Like, if you're late or I get to work and be like, where are the boys? Like, they still feel that presence now. But like, then you realise, like, with my missus, like, we're going to meet here, and then she rocks in 15 minutes late with it everywhere, and the kids got scratches, and you're like, oh, right, okay. Yep. She went away for a few days, and I realised this is hard. Like, you cannot get these kids out of here on time.
Yeah.
And I started, like you're saying, be more lenient with people and clients, and yeah.
I can't remember who said it, but I remember listening to a podcast back in the day, and he said, be present where your feet are. So if you're at work, you got to focus on work. If you're at home, focus on home.
Yeah, so, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah.
Hard to do if you work from home. Be a bit tricky, but still.
Yeah, I can't do it. I tried doing it through that time. I have to be.
Yeah.
Like, look at our office and everything now. When I used to work from home, I couldn't do anything. So I have to. That's why I was getting so early, and I'm like, all right, this is my space.
Yeah, I have the issue with the couch is only 10 meters away from the office. So
yeah, exactly right. I said I can go to someone's house. I can't just walk into their place and sit on the couch, but at home, it's calling my name all day. So.
So have you got any plans to change anything within the business other than what you're doing now, or you just keep continuing to do what you're doing?
I'd like to try and link up all of the boys more, get some more work where we're all on site together. Just slowing down a bit, just like a bit like with the kids, but being more present on site and really just trying to train the boys. Like, I've got, say, Breno, my main qualified, he's trying to do everything himself, trying to train the boys. All right, do this. Me on site, he can just keep going hammer and tong in his own lane. And I just want to train the apprentices and get them as best as they can. So that's what I want for the rest of this year and next year, is just focus on those guys, because I feel like everything else is slowly falling into place. So that's what I want, is to stick like a bit more niche in the market, do a bit more into these concrete barbecues and stuff like that. So
did you teach yourself that work? Or
so Breno had done a couple of the things at his place, and I was like, like, we've been off, let's do it. Let's give it a go, and we nailed it. And then we go, let's do another one. And we watched a lot of videos, and so we'd worked with Lockie from Conca before, and he's a whiz. He's grouse. He's so good. So learned from him. He did the block with us as well. So watching him, and we thought, it's not by any means, it's not easy, but it was like, we're getting all right at this. Yeah, we just did more and more, and I wanted to wasn't necessarily making money off them. I wanted to build a portfolio and spend the time getting them right. Yeah, we've probably done 10 or 15 of them now, and I love them. Yeah. Like, I never liked concrete that much, but I like the risk of it could turn to shit. So really, the timing and the focus, and I'd like to do more of them. Leave the big stuff to the pros, but what we're doing now, I'm comfortable with what we're doing. So
yeah. Last question for you is, who do you think would be a good guest to have on this podcast?
I reckon, man, he's a bit of a wildcat. This one will be Leon from Crazy Group. He's gets pretty wild. I'd give him a call. I reckon he'd be a cracker on here.
All right, sounds good. All right, Hoppo, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Yeah, been looking forward to this chat for a long time. So thanks so much for making the time to come on.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. It's been a pleasure.